And I think we are live. So, welcome everybody to the Week 3 weekly awards for the Red Dirt Sports Fantasy League. I'm your host, the OU flag guy, also known as Josh. And, guys, I'm going to tell you, I apologize for not having a video yet for West Virginia. It's coming tomorrow, probably. I went to a wedding over the weekend because if you saw the live stream last week, my good buddy Patrick got married. Again, congratulations, Patrick, for getting married. And I've just been beat from it. I've been trying to play catch up around my house. I've been playing catch up at work because I took 3 days off yesterday to make sure that I could attend. And I'm just tired. I'm still going over from notes and I'm just going back and forth on everything of what I have to put in, such as the game, looking forward to Kansas State, as well as addressing the booing issue with Radler. I'm hoping to get about 3 or 4 videos up, but this week I'm also catching up with fantasy football as well, which is kind of funny because when all of us did our stuff, I looked at like Patrick Chad's nice because we were all at his wedding. It was like even Patrick had it where he was able to get his picks in and he still got #1 for the week in the picks at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the college football, like the pick'ems at the moment for the standings for those of y'all who play as we're waiting for Justin. And then afterwards, we'll dive right into the weekly awards. I want to keep this show very short and sweet because I have, like I said, I'm catching up, guys, tonight. You don't know the drive from Oklahoma to Nashville until you drive it. I think I did a round trip of about, going back and forth from Oklahoma to Tennessee and then doing, I want to say going to the reception area and then traveling stuff. I think about 30 hours in about a 4-day span. So I am wiped. And why I say I am wiped out, look who has joined us. It is my partner in crime fighting, who I actually happened to see this weekend traveling. He took me to a wonderful breakfast joint. And Justin, my dude, I have to say, my coworkers were jealous of those cinnamon rolls. They're like, "Where did you get this wonderful piece of food?" I'm like, my good bud Justin directed me to the best breakfast place ever. So how are you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, dude?
I'm tired. I'm still tired from that drive. I drove that 10 hours on Sunday. I didn't get in until about 8:45. I think it was like 8:30, 8:45, and then I had to unload the car. So I'm still beat catching up. I haven't had like a good night's sleep with it because I'm still having to plan out, like I was mentioning about a minute ago, trying to figure out what I have to do for the OU West Virginia recap. I got to figure out Kansas State because I may go to that game. It's a loaded week. It has not finished. What about you, buddy? How's it been since I saw you?
It's been up and down. I got off work pretty late today, so I'm a little bit tired myself.
We're both tired. So I realized too with this, I think what I'm going to do is I'll be the guest for this week to talk about our teams and everything like that because I forgot to send the link to Tyler tonight. So he will be the guest next week and I'll just answer questions about myself tonight. All about me tonight. Or I'll answer questions that you have for me, Justin. So first thing, I'm going to dive right into it. Going to dive right in if I can get this screen share going. I'm going to show the current, let's see, leaders on our college pick'em. And then we'll talk a little bit about the NFL. Let's see. I think this one's it. Nope, that is not it. But we can start. Start with that.
As they're college pick'ems.
Yeah, those are college pick'ems with it. So this is the update right now, currently with the pick'ems. But we'll start with how week 4 went. Yes, how week 4 went. So as you can see, we had a 4-way tie for first with it. Yes, last week had some pretty good games between Notre Dame and Wisconsin, TCU and SMU, Clemson and North Carolina State, at Texas A&M and Arkansas, Iowa State and Baylor, and then going into like the later half of it, UNC and Georgia Tech. I mean, if you take a look at mine on it, I had the same issues too, where it's like I didn't think Georgia or Notre Dame would lose to Wisconsin, but I did go back and forth on it, and I was wrong. I should have went with Notre Dame. That was my gut pick with it, but I'm like, with how Notre Dame was going, I just don't have faith in it. And you know what? Notre Dame won. And I regret it. The one I regret more though is SMU, because since SMU has 2 of our former players with Mordecai and Calcaterra, I know that's a good quarterback to tight end combo. And I didn't think, though, they'd have the rest of the team with SMU. And boy, they beat TCU. And Gary Patterson is still upset about that game at this point. So I should have went with it, just like everybody picked Clemson. I think this was the gut check for Clemson, because it was, if they were going to do anything relevant in the ACC this year, they had to beat North Carolina State. It's done. It's done. Now, the pick I'm proud of that I made, and I know some others were going back and forth, it was Arkansas versus Texas A&M. I thought Texas A&M is garbage this year, and they're garbage this year. Arkansas whipped up on him, and we got a great game this week, Justin. We have Arkansas versus Texas A&M. Or no, Arkansas versus Georgia. Like number 2 versus number 8. We've got a good slate of games this week.
I swear to God, Arkansas wasn't even ranked like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. They weren't. They were not ranked 2 weeks ago, and then they just came out of nowhere. So, I mean, good for them for finally getting everything back on track. The other one, too, I kept going back and forth on, Justin, was this Baylor Iowa State, because I haven't thought Iowa State was really good at all this year. I thought they regressed a whole lot with Brock Purdy, and I even said they're not winning the Big 12. They ain't even going to sniff the playoff. But I kept going back and forth because Baylor didn't have any good games this year to really prove themselves. I'm like, all right, this is going to be the game that really proves it. And everybody was wrong except Frank. Frank picked Baylor, and he tied for it. So going into the next week as well, everything else was pretty standard with that except me. I was wrong on Oklahoma State versus Kansas State. I should have went with Oklahoma State because I didn't realize Skyler was out when I made that pick. Otherwise, I would have picked Oklahoma State at that point.
All y'all were wrong for North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina.
12.5 though. I don't blame all y'all for picking North Carolina because aren't they ranked? Well, they were, probably not anymore now.
They were. They're coached by Mac Brown, and all of us thought they were going to be making some moves or something this year, and no, they're out. They were if I'm talking a true overrated team, that's North Carolina, unfortunately. Yeah, we were wrong. We were very wrong. I mean, though, looking at the spread, they were favored by 12.5. So I mean, Georgia Tech won. They came out to play ball. So good for them. What the funny thing of this week is, look at everybody who missed. Like, we get 2 weeks where we drop scores, but it's just really funny. I have to remind Kari, she was on the lake, I think, this week, and so she just completely forgot. And then Chad, he was cracking a joke about Patrick on it. I'm like, you haven't made your picks. And at the wedding, he went, what? So I told him it doesn't matter if he makes the picks or not, because it's just going to be it's going to be one of his 2 weeks dropped anyway. So the other funny part of it, though, was Brittany messaged me the day of Patrick's wedding, and she's like, I didn't make my picks either. And what's funny is this 13 may actually assist her later on. I don't know. But either way, congratulations to Andrew, Sarah, Gavin, and Frank for tying for first place, me and Caleb for second place, and then Patrick for third place. For it, even getting married, Patrick got his third place secured at this point.
Yeah, he got married, so he's automatically a winner.
Exactly.
Win chicken dinner.
Huh?
Win a chicken dinner.
Oh, exactly. He gets that special merit award this week. Let's see. I had to bring up the other one. So this is what it looks like going into here it is. So this is what our current standing is right now in our Pick'em League. Right now, Patrick is at 50. Again, I remind it every week. He did not pick the OU Tulane game, and he messaged me well before that it did not update. And I always remind people it had the same thing happen to me on it, so I give a pass on that one. He is 50-4, I think it is right now. It's either 50-4 or 50-5. I don't know if they consider that a loss. But Patrick's in first place right now. He's starting to slowly pull away. Gavin is in number 2. He's only 2 points behind. I believe it's Andrew is number 3, and at 47 points. I'm number 4 because of dropped points. I'm at number 4. Brittany is at number 5. Sarah's at number 6. Kayla's at number 7. Chad is at number 8. Frank is at number 9, and Kari is at number 10. If you take a look as well with, I think it's group picks. It's either group picks. No, it's weekly performance. If you take a look at the weekly performance, you can now see we're going into week 5 and where everything's now starting to drop at this point, and who were the big winners and who were the big losers at this point. So there is still a shot, but you can see all those differentials. Like the lower ones, you don't want to lose those lower ones as much as you can for it, because it's just making it tough. So, but we still have several more weeks. There's more than opportunities, and this week there's some pretty crazy games for it. There's a good slate of games, Justin. I'm actually going to go to my work related one with it because we do different ones with it, but like I don't mind sharing my picks for that one. But it's like we got Georgia versus Arkansas, we've got Cincinnati versus Notre Dame, we've got Alabama versus Mississippi. Like we have a good slate of games this week. Like there are some ones that it's going to be difficult to pick, like who's going to win and everything like that. So I don't mind sharing my comments, my screen, because this should be common sense picks with it. So any thoughts on the pick'ems this week, Justin? I know you're not a part of it, but anything that stood out to you?
Not on the top of my head. It might come to me later, though.
Gotcha. So then I'm going to exit out of these. Then let's go straight into, Justin, week 3 of the NFL. What happened in the NFL this week?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard Hollywood Brown needs to be put in witness protection at this point.
Well, yeah, especially when I had him, he had 3 freaking drops. That got annoying. Well, you saw that you saw a brand new way to lose in gut wrenching fashion. Not only the Lions gave him a freaking 4th and 19 to the Ravens, who played like crap the entire game, but you lose on a walk-off historic field goal to win the game for the Ravens.
So what happened with the Ravens? Tell me a little bit about that one, because again, since I was driving, I really missed a whole lot.
I mostly watched Red Zone, but if I can tell, the few highlights that I watched, is that for the most part, offensively, I think both sides of the ball really, that Ravens looked just mostly really sloppy. Like and Lamar himself looked sloppy. In fact, he threw a really bad pick in the 4th quarter when they were only up by 2, and eventually the Lions had the lead. And
so,
like I said,
what you're saying is Lamar was on brand.
Well, yeah, I guess you say that. In fact, like, well, okay. let me check these numbers. Yeah, he was 16 for 31, 287, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Let's see, rushing 7 attempts, 58 yards. Let's see.
Lamar just didn't do good. It sounded like his later college years, where I thought, like, I'll be up front, I think the year he won the Heisman, it was one of those years where you had to pick somebody because there was just no good player. I think they picked it because Louisville was just like the best off-brand team at that point.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just don't mind me. I'm just going through some of these.
That's fine. As you're going through, what else? What about rest for NFL?
The Chargers really impressed me. When he at Arrowhead, I feel like a part of it was the Chiefs being careless, because I feel like I've always said this is one thing about the Chiefs. I think that everybody, I know I'm not the only one who said this, but the one thing about the Chiefs is that their biggest foe is beating themselves, and I feel like that's what they did the first 2 games, the 2 games they've lost. Because all you had to do in the Ravens game was hold on to the football. Apparently that was too much for Edwards-Helaire. He could have that fumble, and he fumbled again against the Chargers. And for whatever reason, in the clutch time, Mahomes thought it'd be a good idea just to throw a lackadaisical air pass in the 4th quarter, which ended up being a pick. I think he was trying to hit Travis Kelce, but was even close. So it felt like he got a little too cocky there. I feel like at some point those kind of passes, those kind of long balls are going to bite him in the ass, and they did last game.
Do you think he's doing hero ball, or do you think it's just still kind of like getting into the groove of the NFL schedule at the moment?
Well, it could be him. It could be either. I can go with the latter, because like it's only 3 games in.
Either or.
Yeah, and they'll probably win this. Yeah, they'll probably win this week. And they're just playing the Eagles, and the Eagles are terrible, so they'll probably win that one. Is at Philly, as long as they don't get too careless. Actually, focus on doing the things they do well. Gotcha,
which makes a lot of sense. So, all right.
Okay, I got something else.
Yeah.
Dude, Matt Nagy's gonna freaking ruin Justin Fields.
Why do you say that?
Well, for one, he took like 9 sacks against the Browns, and like he's probably throwing him out there too soon. I mean, let's see. He only contributed 68 yards, 68 yards of offense. He only threw for 68 yards on 20 pass attempts.
Oh, hey, sounds like an OU offense right now.
6 of 20. 6 of 20 for 68 yards and took 9 sacks.
That's not good. That's not good, my dude. That's bad. That means he was eating dirt. Ooh, that's bad. That is bad. Bad. Yeah, he's gonna ruin him. But hey, Justin Fields still getting that money though.
Well, they're probably not gonna ruin as much as whatever the hell the Jaguars are doing to Trevor Lawrence. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. The Urban Meyer experiment is not working out so well right now.
Yeah, I don't know if he's even gonna make it throughout the year. Just watch him solely the links him being linked to USC rumors get louder and louder the more games they lose.
You're telling me that he has a medical condition and he needs to go over to USC now so he can coach? What? That's funny. So, all right, now that we've recapped the NFL a little bit, let's get right into the meat and potatoes of week 3. And Justin, I'm going to tell you something. You're doing pretty well in fantasy right now. You are kicking butt. Let me try to see if I can share the screen. Let's see. There we go. All right. So for all of our viewers watching at home, this is the current standings and matchup results of week 3 of our fantasy. And Justin, I just crapped the bed again this week with my team. My team is just struggle busting right now. It's really sad, but it is what it is. If you take a look at it, I lost to Kayla, and Kayla's taken an early lead in our division. I lost 70-52 to 85-48. And what's funny, Justin, is I was not the lowest score. I wasn't even in the bottom 3. Chad, Patrick, and Frank. Yeah, it's kind of funny that the 3 people who were at Patrick's wedding were the lowest scoring ones with it. And then Frank was bottom, and then Gavin was a little bit ahead. I was kind of the middle of the road team. I'm kind of impressed with myself on that one. So what's your initial thoughts from your game against Gavin this week and looking at the rest of the standings at the moment? Anything that stands out to you?
Oh, let me see what I got. Let me just go back to our matchup. At first, I thought I made a bad decision setting Justin Herbert, and I expected him to put 30 points against I thought the Chiefs would be a lot more pissed off, but Stafford still gave me 29 points. I still did good. Oh, yeah, me up.
Yeah, okay. Gavin asked you why you put Herbert on the bench, and you were like, I don't know. And then Stafford just was like, well, that's the reason why you put him on the bench, because it was
because I had a feeling. I just had that feeling that this will finally be the game where the Buccaneers will, because it's the first real team the Buccaneers have faced this year.
Yeah, and it worked out for you. I mean, you were one of the higher scoring teams this week. You were number 3, just right behind Brittany at this point. So you kicked butt. So let's kind of go over the matchups really fast, and then we'll go into the weekly awards. So I faced Kayla. I crapped the bed because Robbie Anderson, he just could not get anything. And I think he's fallen behind more at this point at Carolina. I'm thinking about possibly having to drop him at this point because he has just not, if you take a look, he has just not performed in the past 2 weeks. And I don't think he's going to perform against Dallas either. I think it's time. And then Samuel also did not do his projections. He's gone down. I think he's just having some off games, but I still would keep Debo at the moment. And then finally, Mixon seems like he's having his generic slide where either he's going to be like really, really, really good at the moment, or he's only going to put up 7 or 9 points, which is not good when I went all in for running backs this year. The one player I was happy that did show up against versus the last 2 weeks was Mark Andrews. Lamar Jackson finally started to throw to Mandrews. It took him 3 games, not knowing that his tight end wasn't there, but he finally threw to him. But the poor life choice I made was San Francisco. I wouldn't have won against Kayla anyway with it because I had the Miami defense. It still wouldn't put me over, but I thought San Francisco was going to do much better against Green Bay, and that was bad. That was a bad, poor life choice.
I might be catching a break this upcoming week. It's conflicting because my opponent, the littlest eye, has Julio Jones, and Julio's out this week.
See, he's one of those players I will never, ever, ever draft because I've had a bad experience with him the 2 years I drafted him. I'm like, nope, he's injury prone or he's high risk, high reward. He'll give you either like 50 points a game or no points. I can't do it. Well, with Lidless too, Lidless is in like the bottom half of the league. So you should have a good chance and get.
Is it weird that I'm conflicted about how I feel playing the Jets? Because they're the Jets. They've only put up 20 points all year long, but offensively you're going to a game with no Julio and no AJ Brown. So you're really gonna need Derrick Henry to eat.
Ooh, yeah, and that makes him that's a good game. Yeah,
so that's
yeah,
gonna be
right.
you're pretty much either relying on him or actually and relying on the defense, which in the defense is still suspect.
Right. I was gonna highlight, Justin, if you look too, by the way, Kayla and I back and forth between taking the score leads. Like I think we both had it was 4 score changes. There was no clear cut winner, me against her with it. It was just my team finally started underperforming, and she finally had those players step up Monday night with it. And I think it was who was it that she had Monday night?
Those are the final scores. You're both projected to beat the 100s. Y'all barely broke 80.
Yeah, I haven't done well, like I said, the past 2 weeks at this point. I'm a healthy 1-2 right now. I'm not out of it. I'm not the bottom part, but at some point it's like that early warning signs of it's starting to have to change stuff. I also want to take a look at next game was Kyler Wren versus Brittany. I feel bad for Brittany. She got second place in points this week, and she faced the one person that she could not beat, and it was Andrew. Andrew's balling right now. Look at all those points on his side. Jalen Hurts, even with an off game, was doing great. Metcalf did great. Kupp did great.
Oh, God. There's only one. Who's even supposed to beat that? Like Cooper Kupp, Derrick Henry, Austin Ekeler. Who's supposed to even beat that?
Yeah, considering that equal distribution. Yeah. I think Brittany could have beaten him, though, if Kansas City actually showed up against the Chargers. That one spot. That's where those games are like, I hate the 10-point difference with it, or like the 0.5 difference with it. But I'm also of the man, if I change this one player out, I could have possibly won. And if we take a look at Brittany's other one, she didn't have other defenses, so that's what she was stuck with. Okay. But why she put Hunt on the bench, I will not understand. Could have won. Beggars can't be choosers, though. So if you take a look at that's part of the game of fantasy. Take a look at it too with it. They didn't really have a close game.
I'm so glad I drafted Nick. I'm so glad I drafted Nick Chubb, but man, it's kind of hard for him to get touches with how much Kareem Hunt's been balling.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
he's been balling,
Hunt,
dude.
It's has been a surprise.
Yeah, he's back to his old Kansas City self.
Yeah, and I mean when you have the O-line that can support you to do that. Let's take a look at yours, Justin. Speaking of that, like I said, you balled against Gavin hardcore. There wasn't really anything that you did that would have changed outcomes or anything. Like everything was pretty solid with it. You weren't going to beat him with bench points again, though. You had 72.24 points on the bench, but he scored just enough to not avoid that terrible award that I still have. But looking at that, it was just a lot of those players that should be like your first and second round picks underperformed. Looking at Tyreek Hill, he underperformed. Pittman, he underperformed. Ingram at Carolina, super underperformed. Like just so much underperforming. There was just no way he was going to beat you at all.
Yeah, because I was watching when they showed. Watching parts of the Ravens Lions game on Red Zone. All they pretty much showed on the highlights I saw. All I really saw was Marquise Brown dropping the ball. Mm-hmm. He had at least 3 drops.
Yeah. And if you take a look too, Justin, like once you started getting your players playing the games, you took off and there was no looking back. Like Gavin pretty much stayed pretty consistent and only got maybe 4 more points after that. So good job to your game this week. You smashed. You did really, really, really well. Speaking of really well, Lidless Eye finally got their first win against Chad. And if you take a look at it, Chad, it was like Derek Cook. He was out. Pittsburgh underperformed. They were out. What's his name? Cook for their tight end. He was out. Just so many teams, so many players that were out with it. And he took advantage. There's just not really too much he could have changed. Like here and there, sure. But when your difference is almost 30 points, there's only so much you can do at this point. And if you take a look at it as well, Josh led the entire weekend. There was no time where Chad even had a chance. And that happens. That's just part of the game with it. So I only got 2 more to go for, and then we'll get into the weekly awards, Justin. Well, the funny one is, and I can crack this joke, while Patrick is winning at life, getting married this weekend, He did not, however, win at fantasy because Tyler beat him in fantasy. And I think he optimized his line. I don't think there really was too much, again, that he could switch in because there was just too much of a point differential at this point. If you take a look as well with Patrick versus Tyler took off Thursday night, and there was no looking back for him as well. And he's one of the few that are undefeated still in the league with it. I think that's just going to be one of those things. He was projected to win too. However, we're at that point this week at least where even swapping out players, it really wasn't going to make that much of a difference with it, because it was still going to result in the same one. Final one was right now we still have Frank in last place at 0-3. He got smashed by Sarah, 103.98. Sarah drafted well with Brady. Brady has been very, very solid right now, and I think he's definitely her MVP. He is just lighting it up at Tampa Bay.
What's Brady's record now? Is he 3-0?
Yeah, he's 3-0 right now. No, 2-1, 2-1.
Yeah, because Brady, isn't Brady the one who beat me? I think she's the one who beat me week 1.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's true because, yeah, you're right. Looking at Brady and stuff too, you can see even though he only threw 1 touchdown, look at all those yards he had, all those completions. Like, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of her success with her quarterback right now. I'm so jealous. But again, even if she changed out any player, she was still 50 points ahead. Like, that was just the game of it. And I think it
only 3.
Like, look at the point.
Only 3.92 points for your quarterback.
Yeah, like, it's ridiculous. And like Fields was, for Fields. Like, that was a poor life choice for it. But again, even if he put Carr in, it wasn't going to make a difference with it. It only would have gotten him maybe 10 extra points closer, 10 or 15 at that point. Sure, that will help out with not getting like the fantasy award, the grumpy ones and all that. But yeah. So as I'm typing up all the stuff, Justin, what is your thoughts of the week 3? Any highlights from the matchups? Any thoughts from looking at scores, looking at players, how everybody scored? Are you comfortable with where you're at in the league right now?
I kind of feel for Regina George fan club, the fact that they scored 111 points and still lost.
That's the worst feeling, isn't it? I've been on that side of it where I've had it. It was just a couple years ago. It's just part of it. That's just part of the game with it, where you do your best on it, and it's luck. It's luck. I think looking at it right now, though,
that's just so weird. Like, you're right. This is how it is sometimes. I mean,
yeah.
Draft
order, the teams.
Yeah.
Look at Justin Fields. Like, he could have done really well with this week, and he crapped. It sucked.
Seriously, I only scored 81 points. I only scored 81 points when I beat you.
Yeah, it's just the NFL is having those wild weeks right now where the players that we're expecting to put up points aren't, and then the players like Kareem Hunt, as we mentioned, or your quarterback Stafford, who are expected to be very pedestrian, lit up some points this week. So, and we're joined by Gavin right now. We're about to do some weekly awards. Gavin, how are you doing today?
Oh, doing all right. Although I can just say I just wish this week was already over with.
For fantasy football?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gavin, your opponent's in the room. Tell me, how do you feel of losing to Justin this week?
I had a good start, then it just basically collapsed.
As we were saying, things happened this week where the players that were expected to put up points didn't, and the players that weren't expected did. It's just I lost too. It's part of the game. It is part of the game. So it is what it is with it. Do you regret any players being in certain positions this week? It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. So we're going to take a quick look into the standings right now. And I have to say, right now, the Every Villain is Lemons pod looks like that's going to be the toughest one, because if you look at Green Goblins versus the Borg, they are scheduled for like a big matchup coming up. If they I think within 2 weeks, and week 5, if neither of them lose, we got a 1 versus 2 matchup. I think it's week 5. Yeah, week 5. If they don't lose, we've got a number 1 versus a number 2 matchup in the same pod. So it's going to be interesting to see if they last this week with it. Justin,
I just got a glimpse of it, but I think that same week you just mentioned, I think I saw that same week is that you two play each other.
Yep. Yeah, because we're in the same pod. So yep, we play the same. I play against Gavin, but with the way my team's performing, I am really hoping that they could at least break 85 points.
They'll be on Sooner versus Sooner.
Yep. Depending on what the record is, going to be the person who gets the away jersey, get the Stormtroopers. Looking at the rest of the divisions, Justin, you're leading your division right now. It's a very, very early lead at the moment. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Josh Prime is leading the division despite being 1-2 and in 11th place. He's the only one with a win right now in your division. He is winning at the moment. He's guaranteed.
I haven't had a division game yet till this week.
Correct. And that's one thing to keep in mind.
The NFC East now.
Which one? This one?
Basically, Prime's division leading 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to be. Gosh, it's going to be amazing to see what they do. Just like right here, nobody's out yet right now, but Justin, you play your first division match this week as well, and I do think it's going to be interesting to see if you take that early spot back from versus Josh Prime. Looking at the Money EC league as well, I think this is the other toughest league is going to be Andrew, who's controlling the league right now. And the reason I say it's the other toughest league is Brittany, while she is losing, she has points. So as long as she can just get the points at this point and get to that number 6 spot, she's in. She will absolutely be in. And then the league, the pod that Gavin and I are in, it just comes down to we're just kind of the middle of the run league at the moment with it. I think this is going to come down to a lot of 3-3 matchups. I think that's what it's going to be mostly 3-3 records, and it's going to come down to points. I have a feeling that's just what it is based on how all of us have performed so far. So, any thoughts on pods or anything?
Oh,
all right.
I feel like the pod that we're in right now, it's like you said, I feel like we're just kind of in that middle of nowhere sort of territory.
Yeah.
Thing. And of course, I got to go up against the muffins and everything, and I'm gonna be dealt with a whole lot of frosting if the way things are going like they have been the last 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, I face Chad this week, even though he's not part of my division with it. But if I lose to him, I mean, hey, it's putting me in a bad position where I'm not going to be able to get into those tiebreaker scenarios or the point scenarios with it. But there's still a lot more football to be played. There's still a whole lot more football to be played. Justin has an easy matchup this week. What's funny, Justin, is even with Julio Jones out, you're favored to lose at the moment. I'm like, you're going to go 3-1. So anyway, let's get into the weekly awards. So let me bring up my spreadsheet so I can start copying everything.
How the heck did he end up with his running backs being both Shaquille Barkley and Montgomery from the Bears? The one he's been getting a lot of points on the ground.
Oh, absolutely. He just the luck of the draw. It's literally the luck of the draw on it. So first award is that's fine. First award of the week is going to be the standard winner chicken dinner. And Kayla beat me for that award, so I'm going to show that. She beat me by 85.48 points versus me with 70.52. It was a very low-scoring game, and Kayla, late on Monday night, took the lead with it. So congratulations to Kayla. You won the game of the week. While I have that up at this point, I'm also going to bring up the next week game of the week. Justin, I'm going to switch over to week 4 at this point with it, just to see if you can see. There we go. What do you think the game of the week's going to be this week, looking at those matchups?
Let's see.
Take a guess. What game do you think it is? Because I can tell you which one it's going to be.
Oh, yeah. Colorado versus Greek Goblins.
Yes, I think that's correct. I think that one is the correct. Yes. Next week's game of the week for week 4 is going to be, drum roll, Sarah, who is surprisingly doing fantastic right now. And that's not me taking shots at Sarah. That is based on how she drafts of always Tom Brady and a defense in the first 2 rounds. She is doing very well versus Kyler Wren. in week 4. And this is either going to decide most likely who's going to be tied with Tyler for first and second place, or if Sarah's going to get her first loss of the season, we may have we already know who our top 3 is going to be between Tyler.
I think Sarah would be fine because she's just playing against New England. Bray's just playing against New England.
Correct. Now the flip side of it though is Sarah and Andrew are not in the same pod either, which makes it very interesting of how those top 3 matchups are going to go on it, especially since everybody else is really struggling at 1 and 2 or the very few 2 and 1s at this point for it. So that's going to be a very interesting one. That's going to have big implications, in my opinion, on like what the first third of the season gut check is going to be. Let's move up to, I'm going to get the next one. So it shouldn't be a surprise at all with it, but the repeat winner for this week for the Juggernaut is, there we go, is Kyler Wren with Andrew at 118 points, 0.64 points. Again, he repeated he's a back-to-back Juggernaut this week, and I am really glad I'm not in his pod right now, and I feel bad. I don't know who I'd pick because with Sarah versus him, that's why it's going to be a good matchup. Sarah is number 1, and he is the hot team right now with it. And if we take a look at what Andrew has as his lineup for next week with it, he has Jalen Hurts, Metcalf, Kupp, Schuster, Derrick Henry, Eckler, Thomas, Gay, and England. It's a solid one to get some big points next week. Very solid. The only one I would have to switch out would be Jay Smith because I think he got injured last week. But again, congratulations to Andrew for winning that. We will then move on to, let's see, the last weekly award. I'm going back and forth because I don't have my dual screen with me with it, but we'll do that and then we'll do our first question. So the week 3 coach of the week is Sarah. Congratulations to Sarah, who was projected to lose 97-1 versus 103 and actually won 103.98 to 58.32. Again, Frank's just having bad luck right now with it, and he's just one of the bottom of the barrel teams with it. However, congratulations to Sarah, and right now she leads the entire league at first place. If she can keep that up, at least she will definitely be in the playoff for it. And I mean, she's leading. There's no doubts about it. She's leading her division, everything like that as well. So let's go. You know what? Since Gavin's here, I'm able to do this. I'll switch it up a bit and I'll just change it up. So Gavin, you're the manager of the week at this point. I was going to have Tyler on this week, but I honestly forgot to bring Tyler on with it because like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I was in Nashville for a wedding. So Gavin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, let's see. Born and raised in Oklahoma, and excuse me. I basically work over at a television station that's here in Tulsa for a CBS affiliate, and been doing that for a couple of years and stuff. But before then, I've just been more of a sports junkie and a casual pony fan, and I actually got to see the premiere of the basically the new movie that came out on Netflix Friday. Which
you mean the number one? You mean the number 1 movie worldwide right now on Netflix?
Yeah,
on Netflix.
Yes. Yeah, so, got to see that, and I gotta say, it's not half bad. I would have to admit. So,
yeah, it is a very solid animated feature.
I think if anything, it gives like a good ground, like a good ground floor. If anything else, so you to kind of go forward is kind of the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
I really do see. Yeah. So.
I've seen them. I've also seen it.
Yeah. What did you like it too?
Yeah, I'd probably give it about scale of 1 to 10, probably a 7. Maybe 7.5.
I would probably give it about maybe from like, I would say maybe sort of on the issue of maybe an 8, I would say. Just because I feel like it was mostly good for the part. The only thing, it's just the over the top singing, I guess, for me is kind of what sort of kind of gave me that little bit of a turn off.
Yeah, I can see that. I gave it an 8 originally, probably because I watched it after having a horrible week at work and it just put me in a good mood. But looking back at that, I'd probably take it down to like a 7.5.
I give it about a solid 8.5 or a 9. So, because this is how Unicorn talks. So, moving on to the next award. The next award, again, back-to-back weeks. Domination was the Belichick, which goes to Kyler Wren, Andrew, at 118.64, beating his projection of 110.36 by 8.28 points, which isn't really a lot, but that also means that his team is playing to what should be expected. And going back-to-back weeks on it, I do not envy anybody who has to face him right now. I'll just leave it at that. I will absolutely leave it at that. As I said, Andrew is definitely the team that is on fire right now, very early on. Got to get those early wins. To not freak out later on. Next one is going to be the week 3 underachiever is Kayla. She beat me, or she scored 85.48, and she was projected at 108.17, and she still won. She faced me, and what's funny is, again, she wasn't bottom of the row. She wasn't like next to last and just happened to beat me. That was just how the week was. You either did fantastic with 100 of points, or you did really bad with it, and that's how the cookie crumbles. But hey,
that's the way it was.
Exactly, and as we said with OU, a win's a win. I'll take a win over a loss any day of the week, but it's an ugly win. It was an ugly win.
Speaking of, go ahead. I was gonna say, Josh, and I know I might be going back on the harping on this and everything, but I think if anything, I'm gonna be somewhat the same with you too on that. Win is a win, but that defense for West Virginia, I think I've just totally underestimated for the most part. If anything, because that defense was like a really good, solid bunch. If anything, I mean, the way that they've been playing lately, the last, I would say, like after the COVID year and all that, and then how they've been performing so far this season, that might be one of probably, I would say, unless we, later with Baylor, probably though too. That's probably like one of the best defenses we've seen so far this season in the Big 12.
Well, if they could score points, they'd actually probably be in the running for the Big 12 too. I don't have any doubts about their defense at all. It was always their offense. If their offense could score on us, and unfortunately, OU shut down that run game really, really, really fast. But based on the highlights I saw, again, I was at a wedding, so the most I saw was little things here and there, but I was not honestly paying attention to it. I haven't really watched too much of the highlights, but I'm hoping to get my post game up by tomorrow evening.
Question.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Gavin, this is mostly for you. I'm sure I know. Because since Josh was at winning, I'm sure you watched the whole game. But how does it feel? It felt like to me that even though y'all won a game with a game-winning field goal, or whatever, that the crowd, the cheers after the field goal was hit, the game was over. It sounded like it's like a mix of boos and cheers. Like you're glad you won, but you're really underwhelmed. How did that make you feel?
I'll be honest. It felt like, if anything, and I just come from a humble perspective on this, to where I think we have gotten used to it over the years, to where there is such a high caliber to basically, like with Baker, Kyler, Jalen, that have played, to their full max potential. And yet I feel like, if anything, like with Spencer, it's like it just hasn't been really somewhat there on that sort of end. However, and I just say this, however, a lot of it I don't blame on him. I mean, yeah, he has some questionable throws and everything and all that too, which I do not deny. But I also have a lot of, irritation with part of it with the offensive line, which it seems like, if anything, that can't really get a good gel on for the most part. And the fact that when you got like no run game or anything, because I think this is like the first time that we've been held to, like, I don't know, under 70 yards in, how many years since Lincoln Riley's been there as an offensive coordinator, or / head coach, where I feel like, if anything, to where it's like I feel like people that they're really starting to scheme in on Riley's coaching abilities as well. So that's kind of where I think a lot of it's at right now. And the whole, and this is my other issue too. Like, there was like part of the crowd, I don't know, like part of the student section that it was chanting, we want Caleb, and everything. And it's like, I'm looking at it, and it's like, I don't know if Caleb Williams. I mean, look, he can be like he's a great dual threat to where he can use his legs and has a good arm. But I just don't think it was a smart move to really put him out there in that sort of situation. It really just would not make a lick of sense to me. That's just been the issue to where, it's like you're really putting him at the Lions Den, to where he has, let's see, he hasn't even played for like, I don't know, like what, 2 years now. Because the year before it would have been his senior year, but because of COVID and everything, there was no football. So it really is like one of those things to where I just think part of it is basically, it all starts and ends with the offensive line. And right now, that is where our biggest issue is. And like, I'm not kidding you, like Andrew Ram, who's the center, basically got his first start. The right guard, I think, was like in his 5th or 6th start. And a lot of them had like their 10th or 11th starts overall, too. So this is like a very, very young offensive line to where it's not really handling business up there.
Yeah.
Could be like maybe you said they had an inconsistent like number of stars, so maybe they're just not used to playing together. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, because a lot of it, it's like and I'm not kidding you. Like Rattler has like a great arm, if anything. But the problem is, it's like if you don't give Rattler like the pocket or the protection that he needs, I mean, he's going to make those irrational decisions to where, one, he's going to be throwing, going for his life, or two, and going to make him look like a, ingenious, if anything, and all that. And right now, we're kind of seeing the bottom ladder of that. And that's been the problem.
We're really seeing the bottom ladder rung with it.
Yeah. So I think if anything, it's like, and this is like one of the issues with the chat that we sort of talk about. It's like 70% the line, but 30% Rattler. That's kind of where I kind of see on that. Because and I just say that too because it's not just the pass protection as well. I mean, there was even one play where one West Virginia defender and they had 2 blockers, on him, and that West Virginia defender beat both the blockers. I mean, that's that would say something right there.
What you're seeing is it's not a championship winning team, and that's gonna upset people. So hold the rest of those thoughts. I got more weekly awards to give out though. So
yeah,
week 3 game changer is number 11, the Lilith Eye with Joshua Primes, Justin Allen's quarterback at 37.22 points. I wish I had that on my team.
Oh my gosh. He was a nightmare on my other league. And I'm not kidding you. The other league that I was in, he had like, I'm not kidding you, like 41 points, in the other league I was in.
Did you have him?
No, my opponent got him. And that's who I went up against. And
of course,
not
that's
only
how it
him,
is.
but he also had Kareem Hunt as well, and I got Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb just basically underwhelmed for me.
Yeah, that's what Justin said this week, that Nick Chubb's losing out to Kareem Hunt right now.
And it doesn't help that with in the case of Josh Allen, that a lot of his touchdowns were gone because Tyler Heineke kept turning the ball over either midfield or their own territory, so they had short fields to work with.
Right. Next award is, which no one should be surprised with, is the player with heart has to go to Brittany with Patrick Mahomes at 24.90 points. No one should be surprised on that because she was the highest scoring team that lost a match with it, but she has Patrick Mahomes. Like, that should not be a surprise to anybody based on how the draft was and everything at this point. So while I get this next one up,
I mean,
yeah. Oh, go ahead, Gavin.
I was just going to say, if you have Mahomes, you have a good chance of going long in the season. That's all I could really say at this point.
Yeah, you have guaranteed chunks of points right now. It used to be what Brady was with it, where getting him definitely in the first, maybe second round was not a bad idea. So the next question is, Gavin, what is your favorite sport, and what got you interested in sports?
What favorite sports did I play?
Yeah, what sports did you play and what got you interested in sports?
Oh, like what got me into Twitter ponies is what you were saying?
No.
I'm sorry, I've
I'm
kind of been
talking
having
about what got you into sports just in general? Like, why do you like sports? And then, besides football, like, did you play any sports?
Oh, believe it or not, it actually sort of funny. I actually went to both of my grandfathers. Actually, both I have my grandfather on my mom's side. Basically was, and I'm not kidding you, he was a huge Sooner fan, growing up. And I sort of got lured in with him. And of course, on my dad's side of the family, they weren't really, talked a lot about sports, but they kind of know a whole lot and everything and watched about it. And there were a lot of times to where I was basically, my folks had to do something, so I would be over with my dad's side of the family with, my dad's grandparents, well, with my grandparents on my dad's side of the family. And a lot of times, we weren't sure to watch and everything. So we mostly watched a lot of OU football together. And one of the seasons I actually remember watching together, and I still remember this. It was actually the '01 OU Nebraska game. I actually went over there
Mm-hmm.
and watched that with her. Of course, they lost that game, but we kind of continue to watch, together and everything over time and everything. And one of the memorable games that I actually had watching with both of my grandparents, it was actually 2002, which was that basically what I call the quitting game. And that basically was like one of the times, like we actually just did a lot of connecting more than anything. And that was just sort of our way of bonding. So a lot of it for me was just more of a chance to really bond with mostly with most of my family. That was one of the reasons why I kind of got into it. My dad, we sort of got into it together though too, but we kind of did a lot of like high school and watch a lot of college ball, together mostly, and it was a way to bond. And he actually got me like my first game to OU, which was in '04. And i I think if anything, a lot of it was just a sort of a way to sort of bond, if anything, and sort of kind of get me into it. Because when I was 3 years old, and I'm just saying this out loud, I was diagnosed with autism, and people said that I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
talk or succeed in life and everything. And they told them not to go like to loud venues or do this or that and everything, where I would be overstimulated it. And they actually did the complete opposite and took me to a lot of sporting events and stuff like that. And what really started for me with my dad was for baseball, because he actually got like tickets to where we got to see the minor league team play, you know, almost every nightly basis. And we kind of just bonded over baseball, signed up for baseball, played for little league for a few years, did basketball for a little bit. Then after that, I pretty much was just mostly like watching from the sidelines as I went into music for quite a few years. And kind of got to enjoy that, doing competitions and stuff like that, before I went to college. But I still kept the love for sports and everything going on during that time. I was the only band kid that knew what was going on with the sports and everything, and everybody was looking at me like, what's going on, what's happening here? It was like I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and explain this to you as best as I can, and help you understand what sports ball is all about. So I was basically that guy that knew what was going on. And everybody
Mm-hmm.
basically kept me as an asset for all the sporting events. So that was sort of, it was like, I had like my know and knowledge of it, to where a lot of them just really didn't care about sports like the way I did. So,
Right.
yeah, that's basically about it.
Cool.
So,
All right.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, and by the way, I would just say if anybody is interested in percussion, I just want to hear that and everything else too, because that's where I was mostly at most of my time, usually with the drum line or down with doing the front ensemble. Anyway, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So then we'll get back.
Whoa!
What? Whoa!
Your mic is so off.
Your mic's using sonic boom.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad, guys. I always seem like I have a little bit of trouble with mic stuff, so I sometimes have to reset it during the live stream. So, my bad. My bad. Is everything okay now?
No, I still hear it.
Nah, sorry, guys. It seems good on my end. My bad.
No. It's like it's like you're speaking into a can. That's kind of how I can best describe it.
That's one way to put it.
What I will do is I will turn my headset back on, and then we'll try again.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a lot better.
Let's see. How's that?
Right. So, yes, you're good.
There we go. Had to just reset it. What?
Proceed.
Okay. So next award for this week is the Crash and Burn. Frank has gotten it back to back this week with Crash and Burns. I feel bad for him, man.
Poor Frank.
Poor Frank. Like, he's just having the worst luck right now. I think he's the only 0-3 team at this point in the league. Without looking at it very, very closely with it, it's just he's facing week. If we take a quick look really fast, I can actually tell you. I think in week 2, he faced, let's see. He faced Andrew, and then in week 1, he faced Chad, who had the big week that week. He's just having the bad luck right now. And then looking forward to week 4, he faces Tyler. He may be going
0-3 versus 3-0.
Yeah, unless he can pull that miracle upset, he could be going 0-4 going into week 5 against Joshua Prime at that point, where he may be able to get a win at that point. For now, though, unfortunately, he's just having the bad luck. He just has the hardest strength of schedule at the moment. I think he just got the unlucky bit of the draw with some of those draft pools.
My God, both my wins are against Sooners.
Speaking of you, Justin, your put me in coach was with Justin Herbert at quarterback for 84 points, even though it wouldn't have really made too much of a difference because it was something like 0.75 of a point. I'm not
gonna lie, when Gavin asked why I benched him, I was like, I don't fucking know.
I don't know at this point.
Hold on, wait. I want to see Justin's bench real quick because I think he had like another outstanding player in there. I think.
Well, actually, before we do that, speaking of Justin's bench, Justin, you got the bench award again. What's funny, but the thing is,
we're gonna rub down that. What the hell?
But the thing is, you won though. That's what matters. So looking at Justin's bench,
honestly, it's like you would have beaten me with a beat team and everything. I had squats.
Yeah, well, like looking at it, there wasn't really anybody else he could replace. Like Kittle with Knox, that wouldn't have changed too much of it. Wide receivers, looking at his wide receivers, it wouldn't have changed but 3 points.
Well, look at that Cleveland defense.
I couldn't believe I forgot that the Bears' O-line is terrible. Unless I really made the switch.
Oh, their line is terrible.
O-line's so
Gosh,
bad.
their line is terrible.
Yeah. Honestly, at that point, almost every...
mean,
yeah, God. Yeah, go ahead, Gavin.
I mean, honestly, I felt like, if anything, like, I think you just saved me a little bit of skin, if anything, after that, if anything.
Yeah, well, it was that one player who put him out above that, and it was Justin Herbert. That was it. It's just what could you do when your other guy is scoring 29.52? Again, it was like literally 0.75 to 0.1, like 1 point difference, which is saying something. And then the next one after this for it is a win is a win. There was nobody on that. There was nobody who scored in the lower half and got outscored, because if you take
wait a minute, go back. I thought there was hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I saw something.
The only one who scored though was Kayla, but there was 4 players under her, or 4 or 5 people under her. She was not at the bottom. She was at the bottom, but there was Frank, there was Patrick, there was Chad, there was me. There was plenty of players underneath who could not. So
Yeah.
While I copy and paste for the next one, Gavin, what is the best game you have attended?
Oh, let's see. Hold on. Let's go back to who I had against Justin. I feel like right now, like where I think the biggest issue that I've had right now is that Tyreek Hill, they've been, has been so much going right now after that week 1.
Absolutely.
That I think is the biggest issue, but I think a lot of them are just now keying off of him right now. And that is, I think, been the biggest struggle is that I have not had anybody on wide receiver, basically step up. And that's been, I think, the biggest issue. I think if I would have had some, had somebody help with my receivers and stuff, yeah, that would have been help, great and everything, but I don't think it would have made a difference.
No, I don't think so either at that point. Right now, you're getting to the point where you're having to make that decision if Hill's going to remain on the team or if you're going to have to drop him. I mean, 3 weeks going in, we'll see. I have that problem too with it. But best sporting event you've attended. I've got a limited time on this. I only have about 15 minutes left, so I want to get all the awards in and get the questions to you. So, what best sporting event you attended?
Best sporting event
or witnessed. I'll even go as far as witnessed.
Okay, I'm going to say this. This is the first time where you and I met. I'm going to go back to November 2014. Samaje Perine rushing for 427 yards.
On Kansas, the week after, his name? Samaje Perine holds the NCAA record for rushing and most in a game.
How many yards?
Rushed against, How
many yards you say?
427.
420 yard in one game?
427 in one game versus Kansas. Jesus and it was in the rain.
I know I know you said Kansas, but still, Jesus Christ.
That's what everybody says. That it's like OU's running the Big 12, where it's like having 6 titles in a row is impressive. That's impressive for any team that does it, no matter if it's an OU, Alabama, Ohio State. For Samaje's, what makes his impressive is they did that the week after Wisconsin's running back got it the week before. It was a back-to-back change. The guy didn't even have it for a full week at that point.
Melvin Gordon, that's who it was.
Melvin Gordon, yep. He beat Melvin Gordon. And Samaje almost lost it last year. I forgot what team it was, but they benched the guy in like the last 3 minutes of the game, and he could have won it. Samaje keeps the ball for another day. Next one, weekly award, is going to be the route. Again, if you're Sarah and Andrew, right now you're taking all the big boy points. Sarah beat Frank by 45.66 points, which it could have been a lot worse. Let's just be honest. If it was like Andrew right now, it could have been a lot worse. Speaking of Andrew, the irony behind all this, okay, is despite how much he scored, Andrew also got the Week 3 Hail Mary Award, which is the closest win. Despite it only being 7.5 points, it's kind of funny that with all the points that he scored, he faced number 2, who could have beaten him if she only changed one player out. So close with it. Moving on to the next weekly award at that point is, again, Andrew and Sarah are the ones that have gotten them all. All the sad awards, though, this week have gone to Brittany, because the Week 3 participation trophy is Brittany, who scored 110 points and still lost because she faced the one person that scored number 1 in the league, and it was Andrew. So it's the flip side of the Kayla winning, where it's like she was the lowest scoring team at that point with it. But yeah. While I get one more, Gavin, favorite tailgate food?
Oh, you got to give me a hot dog, if anything. That's kind of what my go-to staple is. If you give me a hot dog, and I'm good to go.
Hot dog, got it. Okay, so next one is the goose egg. I didn't list the teams with it because there were just so many players who scored 0 points. But the highlights of it was like the San Francisco defense, the Kansas City defense, Cook and Henderson Jr. were all players who scored no points this week. And it's not ironic that those teams resulted in losses, or those players resulted in their teams in losses. Especially like mine, I could have gotten a little bit closer to Kayla, but unfortunately, which is how it went. Just it is what it is. It is what it is. Speaking again of Brittany, because again, I'm going through fast these because I only have about 10 minutes at this point. Brittany wins the Bad Luck Chuck Award because she lost to the one person that scored more than she did. She lost to the person who scored, I think, again, with Andrew, I think he averaged the highest point, not just the highest points that week for it, but also I think she's lost to teams that are just scoring at their highs at this point, or players that are doing their best for it. Her and Frank right now, this is the as I like to say right now, this is the Sarah and Andrew world, and we're all just living in it at the moment. And unfortunately, Brittany got the tough schedule of the draw, and so did Frank. Moving on to our next award, as I mentioned with Brittany, where she got the Bad Luck Chuck Award, Kayla got the Lady Luck Award because she got, out of everybody with it, she got the one that she had to get. Like, yeah, when you look at the rest of it, she could have faced the other half of the league and won, but she was the lowest scoring team that won with it, with the Lady Luck with it. So congratulations to Kayla for her miraculous win this week. That's why her team is called Miracle Muffins. Big brain mode right there.
Yeah.
So I got 3 more awards with it. So Gavin, your next question is going to be, what do you think OU is going to do against K-State this weekend if Skylar Thompson is there? Because if he is not there, they are going to win. That is not even a doubt at that point. Assume he's there. What do you think OU is going to do this weekend?
Well, honestly, I feel like they need to get that offensive line going. That's going to be the only issue that I've been having at this point. And also, I'm going to just say this. Deuce Vaughn is going to be a player you're going to have to keep an eye on, too. Even if he's out, I think that's the one player that can really make or break that team is with Deuce Vaughn.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I'm going to go into that in my preview video Friday morning with it. But yeah, Deuce, even without their quarterback, he's still there. He's a good running back. He is very solid.
I think his dad was like somewhat in the NFL, as far as from what I understood. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that. But
yeah. Next award at this point is Week 3 Crisis Averted. So as we mentioned with Andrew, while he is dominating, he's the team on fire, he is not picking players that will result in a loss. So if he would have put Ramondre in, he would have lost against Brittany with it, because Ramondre, I don't know what's going on with Ramondre right now at Buffalo, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. He was on fire in preseason. So unless y'all have something that I don't know about with it, Ramondre's having a tough season right now, getting his footing in. Let's see. Second to last one. Justin, you also win another bench award. It's the depth chart award because you got the most points of the bench of the winners with it, where you could have just switched players out and you would have won regardless. You did not beat your opponent, Gavin, with the bench as well, like if you could switch the entire ones. But still, you have a very strong bench compared to the rest of the league at this point. I feel like when we've discussed it, you've had mixed emotions with it, where it's like, that's great, but I need them also on my main starting lineup. How's that making you feel?
Kind of reminds me how I play on a disc golf course in practice instead of when it actually matters. Like, okay, yeah, sure, y'all do great on the bench, but how about you actually play well when it actually matters?
That's the truth. That's true.
But I imagine that's fantasy in a nutshell, really. So.
Oh, absolutely. Got one more for you. The last award is the Min Max Award, which goes to Kyler Wren, who had 20.60 points. He min-maxed his entire team and had very, very, very minimal points left on the bench. The last question I got for you, Gavin, tonight is, here's the question. Is a taco a soup or a salad? I know, what type of question is that? But everything, according to people, is either a sandwich or all hot dogs are a sandwich. But apparently there's even more than that it can be a soup or a salad.
Okay, here's the only thing I will say. Unless it is if it's like a liquid form, then no, it is not a soup. That's my only thing that constitutes. If it's if it's in a liquid. If it's not liquid, then I'm sorry.
So you would say it is a salad then?
I would say a salad.
It is a salad. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's the only way I can constitute it. Now, unless if there's like a broth or something like that, then I would consider it a soup. But if there's no broth, then it's a salad.
Gotcha. So I canceled out of. I did not mean to do this, so I'm gonna. I skipped ahead just a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I want to share my screen because what I want to do is show y'all the current rankings of our stuff before we wrap up the show. So here we go. Our current rankings right now, as y'all can see, is we got the standings. Here we go. Yeah. Sarah's number 1, Tyler is number 2, Andrew is number 3. Justin, you are sitting nice and dandy at number 4 right now. Number 5 is Kayla. Number 6 is Chad. Number 7 is Brittany. She's the first one out at this point, but if she can get some points, she will easily overcome Chad because she's only 5 points off at the moment. But again, the season is still early. There is still time to overcome that. So number 8, Gavin, kind of same thing, is if you can figure out a way to get some of those points and everything up, you will be right in that number 6 running. Number 9 is me, right behind you. Number 10 is Patrick. Number 11 is Joshua Prime. And then number 12 is Frank at that point. Now I can move on to the other one with it. So let me stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to share the other one. We're going to do some quick projections and stuff really fast coming up and then go from there. Again, we are on week 4 at this point of fantasy. There's still plenty of fantasy to be played. But right now, the current standings, projected standings of what it's going to look like at the end of the season. Sarah is above right now, everybody right now, and she has a 22% chance to make it into the playoffs. Number 2 is Andrew. Number 3 is Tyler. Number 4 is Kayla. Justin, you are number 5, and Chad is number 6. This is what it would be like projected standings going forward. Number 7, I would be the first man out at the Moon Palace because it has me projected at 6 and 7. Patrick is right behind me at number 8. Brittany is at number 9. Joshua Prime is at number 10. Gavin, you're at number 11 for projection, and Frank is still dead last with it. Again, that stuff keeps shuffling around, it's moving about and everything like that. So, again, though, if you even look at it, how tough everything is, they only even have Sarah winning at 8 and 5. It's not going to be a domination what we're seeing right now. At some point, she's apparently going to have a skid, but depends on players and everything like that. Looking at the power rankings from...
Well...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to point this out though too, and don't forget the bye weeks are also going to have to come into play as well. You know, where they're going to have to rearrange and shuffle players that are going to be coming up pretty soon as well.
Absolutely. So looking at the current power rankings going into week 4, again, Andrew is not a surprise. Justin, you're not a surprise either for it. I'm surprised. I think it's based on who are in what positions for it and where it's going to be shining this week. I'm at number 3. Brittany's at number 4. Kayla's at number 5. Patrick's number 6. Joshua Prime's at number 7. Frank's at number 8. Chad's at number 9. Gavin, you're at number 10. Sarah's at number 11 this week, surprisingly. It looks like all the strong positions is not with her this week. And then Tyler is number 12. They could have some losses this week. Don't know. Looking also at the rest of the season with the power rankings, that's where everything looks like it's going to adjust. And that goes back into kind of the earlier ones as well with it. That's Dynasty. There was also there was something else on it. There was, I should have a playoff projection. I had the projections for it. Yeah, here we go. So this is what the playoff would look like right now with it. Based on how everything is, no, that is not correct. I can tell you that's not correct because I'll have to bring up my document. So right now, if the playoff happened, number 1 would be Sarah. That's not a surprise. No one should be surprised at that. Tyler's number 2. No one should be surprised. Number 3 would be facing the big surprise one is because he has the only win in the pod right now, even though Justin plays this week. Right now, if we ended, Joshua Prime, who is at number 11, would get into the playoff because he won the division. You get an automatic bid into the division. And then, Justin, you would play Kayla if it was all this week. Again, as we said, the stuff has essentially flopped from a couple weeks ago with it. But again, there's a lot of football to play. There is too much football to play. I cannot emphasize that enough. We are nowhere near the end. We're not even in that halfway point. So we're going to wrap up this show. Justin, any final thoughts going into week for fantasy football? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to see if my opponent has more of the Josh Allen magic going up against what I got going on, and to see if Julio possibly being out is going to change anything. It may not, but we'll have to see.
Absolutely, and you do have a tough matchup coming against Joshua Prime apparently with it. But as you said, if Julio's out, that's going to be a clear advantage, and you could be going in week 5 with a 3-1 where you'll be facing Chad at that point. Gavin, how do you feel about this week? Any final thoughts for fantasy football as you face Kayla?
I'm just hoping to get out of this season alive. That's all I can hope at this point.
Now, by getting out of the season alive, do you mean just making it to the playoff or just not being dead last?
I'm just hoping not to be dead last.
I think Frank has that covered right now at the moment. I don't think you have to worry about that at that point. But we still have that consolation bracket to play too. At least in the regular season, you're not going to be last. So I want to thank y'all for joining tonight. Again, I had to keep this show really, really short because I have another commitment here in about 10 minutes I have to hop on the phone with. So I appreciate y'all hopping on and chit-chatting a little bit about fantasy and some college pick'ems this week. Gavin, congratulations. I believe I mentioned earlier in the stream that you tied for first place with picks this week. Nice. And I think you're in second place right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, I think if anything, I think the one matchup that I think I'm really unsure of is battling the SEC West between Auburn and LSU. That's the only one I'm really not sure of at this point.
Really? You're not? What about Georgia versus Arkansas?
I got to go with Georgia. I just feel like Arkansas has got a good run, but I just don't think they're over that hump. I just really don't.
Which is fair. Arkansas has been down for almost 10 years with it. But yeah, I just took a look. You are 2 points, just 2 points behind Patrick.
Yeah.
Just 2 points. You could win Pick'em. But again, we're already at week 5 of Pick'ems at this point. That's weird, isn't it? That we're already there. And then football, like NFL, we've got a long way to go before that. So anyway, guys, for all y'all, the rest of y'all watching at this point, I'm going to have a preview video, my post-game video for West Virginia up tomorrow evening. That's the goal for it. Friday evening, I'm going to do K-State. And then Saturday before the game, I'm going to throw up a possible video about the booing situation. I've been thinking about this one all week, and I have some points I want to point out before K-State's. It's either going to be then or K-State's going to be on Saturday. I'm going to leave that one up Friday. I haven't decided yet. I have some thoughts. Let's just put it that way. OU's in a civil war right now, and I want to talk about it. So thank you too for joining me again, everybody for watching. Thank y'all for joining. All for people in the members. I hope y'all had a fun time watching, and I will see y'all same time, same place next week. Good luck, everybody. Good luck against your opponents.